Welcome to the Marketing Intern Spotlight. A marketing intern is a listener who's spreading our message authentically. Hear their story, their passion, and their journey. Enjoy.
How do I say it?
It's a PSY. 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 It's a doctor of psychology, not doctor of philosophy, if that makes sense.
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
See, so PhD, right?
Or PSY.
PH philosophy, Psy, PSY.
So what's it? So
D.
I say PSY.
So just say PSY.
Are we live
I don't
right
have
now?
it yet, so you don't even have to say it.
No, I'm going to say it, but I can't. I don't know how to say that. Society?
I'll correct you. It's
Okay.
PSY.
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 Like
D.
S. Like Psy. SIGH. PSY.
Psy
There
D.
you
boy.
go.
Psy D.
PSY.
That's how I do.
Young hitters.
Psy D. Today on the Backpocket podcast, let's welcome Alex Coursol. Psy D?
Yeah.
Nice. Did I crush that?
Yeah.
Okay,
crushed it.
sweet.
Yo, that's Dr. Alex Coursol to you, dude. Get your shit straight.
Not yet.
Thank you so
Come on
much.
now.
Not yet. Close.
No, we're gonna pretty much call you doctor. I've been marketing you as a doctor ever since you were like, yeah, I want to come on. So is
Yeah.
that cool? Like,
100%.
okay.
I'll let you call me doctor. And you. But nobody else.
Okay.
Nobody else?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
The Backpocket community, if they come up
Yes.
to you and they say
100%.
Dr. Alex, they will allow that.
I answer to it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what do you want to be like when you are, working in this field? Are you gonna go by Dr. C, Dr. Coursol, Dr. Alex? We did some research. Dr. Alexandria. That would be exotic.
I'm still thinking about it. I think Dr. C is kind of tight though.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's got a good flair
Yeah.
to it for
Yep.
sure.
It's kind of cocky too, like just one letter.
It is.
They
yeah.
wonder what the rest is.
Well, I mean, not a lot of people have time to, go through every syllable of your name, which is
Right.
why, like, my name, it's unfortunate, but Declan, like,
Mhm.
oh my God, 2 syllables. So that people land on Decky a lot.
I call you Ducky.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
So
it rolls
does
off the
Vinny.
tongue.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. That's just how it is. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
we got to know you through Altr,
Yes.
working out, grinding, sweating together.
Towel queen.
Then,
Towel queen.
Front desk.
dab queen. So
towel
many
queen.
things about you that our marketing interns need to know about. Where do we even start?
I wear a lot of hats.
You do?
I'm a towel queen. I like to start there. I'm a dog mom.
Mm.
That's another one.
A good one, too.
And then, most of my time I'm in grad school for psychology, getting that PSY.
Getting that side.
Side
Yeah,
D.
yeah.
Mhm.
So we were just talking about that. So a PhD, I never even knew this, but that's a
Mhm.
doctor of philosophy.
Yes. So you can
And-
get like a PhD in a number of different things.
Mm.
And then they created a specific sort of doctorate for psychology. I don't even know how long ago. But I remember learning about it and deciding what I wanted to do. And basically the difference is PhD is more research kind of heavily. And then PsyD is more like practical, going out in the field and getting more practical experience and clinical experience. So.
Okay. I feel like I fit into more of the side E realm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'd definitely be a PsyD guy.
Yeah, I'm right there. I can also lead the towel revolution, and I might take over your 4 to 6 towel spot.
Maybe. Shout out, Vinny.
Vinny, hear
Get
this?
him.
Hire me.
Yeah, you'd be a great towel guy.
Oh, yeah. I could teach you. I showed my roommates. Like, it's a really good fold. So there's a special Altr fold, and I now do it at home. And my roommates are like, dude, your towels look so good. And I'm like, it's the Altr fold, and I don't know if I'm allowed to share or not, but
Well, you're gonna be
It's a
passing it
patented-
down.
yeah.
You'll be passing it down from generation to generation.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
do you grow up here?
I grew up in Mankato, North Mankato.
Oh.
Shout out.
Shout out,
Mm.
dude.
And then I came up here, went to the University of Minnesota for college,
Okay.
and then went St. Thomas, Roll Toms,
Yo, roll
the
Tides.
boys.
Absolutely.
You're at St. Thomas too?
Oh, yeah, all 3 of us.
All 3 of you.
Tommy's
Okay,
for
cool.
life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like the whole little group that comes into Altr, are they all Tommies?
Yes.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. You guys, I always know it's your buddies when they come in with the tights. It's like the little tights squad.
It is.
That's the Tommy's boys.
That's our football look. We're football.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are always in a group together, and I like kind of want to be a part of it, but it's like a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. What's intimidating about a guy named Austin Yoakum? You remember that guy with the long hair?
Oh,
the hat
yeah.
on? Not intimidating
He was
at
in
all. right?
yoga the other day,
He was.
right?
Yeah, we were all
Yeah.
there.
I know.
And then
There's
he,
a lot of meatheads in yoga. on
yo,
Sunday.
lots. He had overload. There was a lot of meat, and what was funny about it, dude, was remember when the part where we was like, you can, how the yogis are like, oh, optional, stand on your head, whatever, and this girl named Virginia, she got into her headstand for the first round, And then Yoakum followed suit very shortly after.
I thought about it.
I
I was nervous I was gonna fall though.
I
had
always
a couple
think about
drinks the
that.
night before. I feel like I could have done it otherwise.
I always think about that. I'm like, man, do I try it? Is this the time I try a headstand?
We
Like,
should.
is this it?
Let's go Sunday and try it then.
Okay.
I'll try it next to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Did
There we go.
Austin get it? Did he get
Oh
it?
no, yeah. Austin
crushed
does
it?
this for a living, dude.
Yeah, that's
I mean, he
right,
runs a
that's true.
strength
That's
program.
still
You
crazy, though.
You can't tell people to do headstands and not do one yourself.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's nuts. So you went to the U.
Mhm.
You're, on what'd you study there? Psychology there as well?
I did.
Mhm.
Okay.
So my mom and dad were both psychologists.
Oh,
I know
God.
it's kind of scary. I don't know how I grew up normal. They knew everything.
Do they have different parenting philosophies because of that? Like, did you find yourself like once you started studying it, realizing, oh, my parents were like
yeah.
handling my childhood much differently?
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned really quick in grad school, and I started to learn a lot more about psychology, like the shit my parents were doing to me growing up.
You
I'm
were a
like,
little experiment.
yeah, I kind of was.
What were
I
they
really think-
doing?
Like, I don't know. I feel like, and I know this now. So this year we had to write qualifying exams, which is like the big, you have 2 huge papers, like 20 pages long. And you have to write about your theoretical orientation. So that's like what modality you choose to do in the therapeutic setting. So every therapist is different and sort of how they view mental health, how they view like how problems like develop and how you should treat them. So I'm cognitive behavioral therapy, and I didn't really even know it. And as I was going through the process of researching, like, okay, how do I think mental health develops and whatever, I started really gravitating to that. And then I asked my parents, and I found out they both were cognitive behavioral therapy. And then I realized, like, growing up, whenever I'd be upset about something, so the whole premise is like your thoughts impact your feelings sort of impact how you act. And then if you have to like kind of dive into one of those, that's maladaptive to get to the problem and kind of change the cycle.
Okay.
So my parents, like 100% were CBTing me my whole life. Like, oh, like, what are your thoughts about that? And like, how does that make you feel, Alex? And I've watched them do it to my nephew who's 6. And I'm like, dude, that's what they did to me. And that's why I'm just that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of
Whoa.
in my blood. Yeah, it's weird. It's super
It
weird.
is. It's in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, but do you find yourself being a little bit more like aware of like your ability to think a little bit deeper because your parents questioned you and you had to actually respond?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
not many parents will actually challenge their kids that way and make them thoughtfully think through those type of feelings.
Mm-hmm. I think like in general, now that I have my degree, I'm always thinking about like my thoughts and my, like how I can, I don't know, be more effective in society or whatever. Like I'm a little bit deeper, I think, than the average person just because of my training.
Sure.
But then even more so, like having parents that always did that, it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, families like don't talk about that stuff. Like, so yeah, I definitely grew up around it. And
That's crazy.
yeah.
So tell me more about this so what's your field? I missed it.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you
so
say that?
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's CBT for
Okay.
short.
Gotcha.
And it's basically, there was like 2 different ones. There was a while back, there was a behavioral therapy and a cognitive therapy. And then they started to realize that there's like a huge overlap. So basically, like I always draw the diagram for people. It's like a circle of like your thoughts, your feelings, behaviors. So like if you think a thought, if you like start there, so like I'm not good enough, or like I'm so bad at everything that I do, or whatever it is, like that's gonna make you feel sad or upset or
Right.
self-defeating or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you feel that way, you act on that. So like if you're feeling sad, you're gonna isolate, or you're gonna do, I don't know, you're gonna avoid social settings because you feel like you're not gonna do well in a social setting, or whatever your thought is. And then by avoiding that, or by isolating, that makes you think things about yourself again. So it's like this vicious cycle
Ooh.
that just keeps going and going.
Okay.
And so the idea is with CBT, there are like cognitive focused CBTers. So they'll like dive into the thought and try to change that. So it's like cognitive distortions.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do like intro to psych?
Did you?
That's like a big one.
I took
Okay.
a sociology class
Yeah.
once.
And
One time.
then other people are like more emotion focused. And so like based on the person, so like men do a lot better with diving in on like the cognitive piece, and women tend to do better on diving into the emotion piece, just because of like how we by nature kind of operate or whatever.
Yeah.
So like you'd start, like if I were to do therapy, I'd start by like, okay, your thought is this, like I'm never going to succeed in life and I'm unliked by everybody or whatever. And then you work to try to like help the client figure out ways to challenge that. And then once you're challenging that, or so like, oh, I actually am pretty likable. I have X amount of friends and people tell me all the time. Then once you change the thought, you start to feel better. When you feel better, you're more likely to like go to parties or go spend time with people.
Right.
When you're doing that, then your thoughts about yourself are better. So it's like going in there and changing to make the person
Kind of finding, like, asking the right questions at the different stages, right?
Yeah.
Thought, feeling, action. So,
yeah,
do you, right?
thought, feeling, action.
Thought, feeling, action.
Yeah, and it's funny because
I'm getting it.
Do you remember? You know Maggie Daggett, who works with me on Thursday mornings.
Yeah.
So I like went through this with her, and she called it thought, feeling, action. I say thought, feeling, behavior, but TFA. She made TFA a thing, and she like brought it to her roommates. She has like 12 girl roommates, and they all
12.
Yeah, and they all like use it now. Like they'll get in a fight, and Maggie will be like TFA. So it's like a thing. I know.
No, I love that.
It's sweet, yeah.
So you worked with like a ton of like in a
College.
cool setting, college setting, most likely.
Yeah.
Or?
So I started. So in my doctoral training, I got my master's first.
Can you speak a little closer to the mic?
Oh yeah, is this better?
Oh yeah, you're in it, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are we sure it's not too loud?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah.
I'll turn down your headphones.
Okay. So I started in, I did my master's, and I did that right after undergrad, just because I knew I wanted to go. You kind of have to go to grad school if you want to practice psychology. The bachelor's degree doesn't like give you a lot. It makes you like effective in your job, but there's not a lot you can do like clinically speaking. So I got my master's right away, and you have to do one like clinical experience there. And I worked at Gustavus Adolphus College Counseling Center, which is cool because I'm from Mankato. So I would it was 3 days a week. It's like 25 hours a week, and I would drive down, do therapy, like 8 clients a day, and then stay at my parents' house and like get to spend time with them, which is cool.
Sick.
Yeah, it was cool. And there's a lot, you saw a lot there. Like I kind of thought it was going to just be like relationship issues, like we broke up and this is what we're going to talk about, which would be a good like step in for me. Like I was super scared of what I was going to face just because I learned about a lot of different kind of mental health stuff. But I got to see everything, so it was a really good experience. And then in my PsyD program, we have 2 different practicum experiences and then internship. So internship is where I'm moving to Denver. But the first one is a therapy one, and then the second one is an assessment one, which is probably like a lot. But
Therapy versus assessment. Okay.
Yep. So the therapy one, that's like actually one-on-one working with a client, and I did that at a like community mental health private practice kind of place out in Lakeville. And then I'm currently doing my assessment one. I have my last day on Wednesday, and I'm at the VA Medical Center doing neuropsychological assessment. So I'm working with veterans who are like in the geriatric age, who are having like issues with learning and memory, or they're noticing things that might kind of indicate, or they might think they have like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or anything like that. So yeah. And then next year, or August, I'll be doing
For internship. Dude, she's becoming an intern.
Yes.
I'm becoming
Nuts.
an intern. I'm becoming an intern. It's crazy. It's so weird. August 1st, then I'll be doing what I actually really want to do. So a lot of what I've been doing is like rotations, just to see what I like. And I've learned that I really, really like working with adolescents. And I'll be at a community mental health and private practice like hybrid in Colorado.
Dude,
which will be cool.
That's an awesome focus to deal with adolescence, and especially with right now, of everyone feeling kind of lost. Because they're just glued to screens and that whole thing that we can dive into.
Oh, it's
and
scary.
I want to jump on that, but before that, the Gustavus, your time at Gustavus, since a lot of our listeners are college students or post-grads, if you could share kind of like a experience or like a takeaway that you're like, oh wow, I didn't really know this kind of overarching things were happening in college life.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. So many things. And it's funny you say that, because a lot of clients would come in. So at Gustavus, it was kind of like part of the tuition. So they got 12 free sessions, which is nice. And for the first time, for a lot of students, it was their first time trying therapy out because, you know, before the age of 18, your parents kind of have to bring you or have to sort of be on board and are part of like the therapeutic process because you're not 18. After 18, you get to just go and your parents can't know anything. And so a lot of students would come. And I think big ones are like transitioning to college. That's super hard for a lot of people. And I think especially with social media these days, it feels like everyone's like, you can kind of portray a life and portray that you're fitting in really well and that it was super quick and easy for you to make friends and do stuff. And that's like not really the reality. And I even like think back to when I was in college, and I say this to like my clients, and I remember like the third week I was there, I just called my mom bawling, and I was having fun, but it's not the like way that I think a lot of people portray it on social media.
Not at all.
And so there's a lot of things for that, like joining clubs or joining sororities or whatever you want to do. But just know that you're not like the only one that's struggling if you are struggling to transition. Anxiety and depression, mostly anxiety, I think I saw a lot of, just because you're like separating from your parents for the first time and you're learning how to sort of adult, and you're sort of in the middle of like maybe perhaps still relying on your parents for some things, but trying to create your own identity and your own image. And I think that can be a really weird time because you learn that some of the things that you value might differ from what you grew up valuing or what your family told you to value or whatever it is. So I know that like the whole identity development thing is huge.
You get challenged a ton.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny, like you were saying, thinking back to your freshman year, like that first year was, I mean, even the first semester is tough. I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Like even for myself coming out here and not really knowing a lot of people, and even that just whole social situation, you factor in, oh yeah, your classes are twice as hard as what they used to be.
Oh, yeah.
You may be doing a sport like football, or you may be doing this and that, and then oh yeah, it goes from like having to lie to your parents to go to a party on Friday night to now there's a party almost every night if you wanted it, you know, like you get challenged in so many different realms. It's like overwhelming, honestly.
For sure.
It's crazy.
And it's interesting too. So I just took a developmental psych class, and they just created, like, there's Erik Erikson like has this theory of development and how each certain stage of your life you're like trying to become something, like you're focused on something during that phase. So like in adolescence, it's identity, and you're trying to figure out your identity. And then in your like 20s to 40s or whatever, it's about intimacy and like finding a partner and whatever. And then as you age, there's all these different things. So they just added a new one called emerging adulthood, and everything's shifting a little bit. So like identity development is now extending. So there's almost like this middle like range, which you guys are in right now, and I just ended. I don't know if that tells how old I am, but I'm probably still in it actually, but because I'm figuring myself out too. But it's basically like your identity. You're still looking to figure out who you are, because like college like helps, but then you transition to a job, and then you're like, what am I in this role? Like, who am I still? And then it's pushing like the intimacy piece a little bit later. Like people are getting married later and finding relationships and having families and stuff later. So that's like a huge thing for college counseling. I think a lot of college counseling centers are like super packed because it's the first time I think that a lot of kids are testing out therapy for the first time, and they're struggling with that sort of transition and how to do that in a healthy way, and all those things you're just So I mean, it was one of my favorite practicums because I was probably seeing 8 people a day back to back to back. And they were so close in age with me. I just felt like I was like kind of friends with them and helping them.
Sure.
And that was super cool. And I think they appreciated having someone who was a little bit younger too, who could relate to some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's huge. So the book she's talking about with the transitioning, what is it, generations or stages of life?
Yeah.
That was the same book quote that my sister texted us that one time.
I remember that.
Oh,
That's what I was trying to
and I
think of.
texted
showed
you.
me that,
That's the same book. That's Erik Erikson.
Yeah. Erik Erikson's my boy. I love Erik Erikson.
What a name, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
And, like you couldn't have, and it's spelled like ERIK. Erikson. And I'm
Perfect,
like, could it
yeah.
have just been like Eric?
Yeah, give him the C.
Yeah. But he's cool. Yeah.
No, that's nuts though, man.
Mhm.
God, that's crazy. I love talking about this stuff, dude.
Mhm.
Like, I've been sending you freaking podcasts
Yeah.
for days.
Well, and it's super cool with the whole developmental thing. So that was my first practicum, and then I switched over to the community mental health place. And there, it's like everyone's coming in, and you have to sort of request who you want to work with based on age or whatever, who your specialty is. So I didn't request anything. So I was like, most of my experiences with college students and whatever, but just like send me whoever you have. And I got like all adolescents. And what was super interesting is that each developmental stage builds off of each other. So like if you're not developing a healthy identity, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to be successful in like finding an intimate relationship. So like it kind of gets at like they all build off of each other. So what was cool for me was I had just talked to a bunch of students that told me like, this is what I struggled with in my adolescence. So then I was working with adolescents, and it helped me be like, let me best prepare you for young adulthood, which is super cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's why I really love working with adolescents is there's such a like cool shift. Like you can go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, like I did a little bit of work in the juvenile detention center. I just did psych assessments. And that was super interesting because I would talk to kids who were like, I'm a bad kid. Like I effed up. And it was like low risk crime stuff. It was like first time offenders, whatever. And
Spray painting some restrooms.
yeah. And being able to like help them change that view of themselves, because that's that identity piece. Like, I'm not a bad kid. I just made a mistake and I needed coping skills. And I wasn't raised in a family where I was taught how to sort of deal with my anger or my loneliness or whatever it is. Like, you can really set them on the right path, which is why I love that age. Because, like, they could sit there and continue to think they're bad. And then it's like that thing, I'm bad. So that makes me feel this way. So I'm going to act out. I'm angry. I'm going to go like rob a bank or whatever. I mean, that wasn't one of the things, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
no, I'm on board with that. I think it's crazy. Like it's such a malleable generation and they're so like extreme. And what's crazy now too, and I see it in my sisters, is like, and I never even realized this, but like our generation, because you were born in what, like in the 90s, right? 91, yeah. 96ers over here.
Oh gosh, I'm old.
No, not
So
at all.
young.
So young.
So
dude.
I'm a
young.
90s kid still.
We're all 90s
Good.
kids here, but we all grew up, I mean, for the most part, without the iPhone. And like my first smartphone, iPhone, was senior year of high school. And it's crazy to think that there are people now that are getting iPhones.
I know.
At like 12 years old.
I know. And like the selfies and all the stuff that comes with it, or social media so young now. Like I nannied a girl and a boy, started when they were like 8 and 10. Shout out to Katie and Chris. And like watched them go through that. And they very much like had social media and cell phones like from a really young age. And it was just so interesting to see like even some of the stuff that I notice is like to have a phone and to be able to be like typing stuff to people as opposed to verbally saying it to someone is crazy because you never learn how to actually communicate. So that's something that I think a lot of like college students have a tough time with, is having, you know, confrontation or communicating with people. And so I think that whole like social media phase, and at that age where it's like identity development, it's all surrounded by what is everybody else doing, and you almost build this like, I don't know, because I think I missed the age where you do like the little poses of, I don't even know how to like pose on Instagram, honestly, because like
we just learned.
Okay.
We had an Instagram model on our podcast.
We should probably, I should watch that one.
Yeah.
Because my friends and I talk about it. Like, if I was in college right now, I would be so bad on social media because I like don't know how to do. So I could dab. I still dab in my pictures. Like if you look at my Instagram, I'm dabbing all the time.
No secrets there.
I won't let it die. Never. But it's crazy that like that's a part of fitting in and being cool at that age, at such a young age. Like I went with my nanny girl. Like we spent the summer a lot last year together. She's 16, and we went to this, like, I don't even know where it was. It was some park, some national park with a waterfall. And she was like, well, I really want to go there because all the, like, Instagram models are going there and they're posing. And I was like, okay, fun. Like, I'll take your pictures. You know, I'll be the photographer.
Yep.
I was like all about it. Like, you're doing great, sweetie. And I was like, but this is so different. Like, I would have, A, never wanted to go to a national park when I was 16. But B, like, if I was going to go, it was definitely not for the photos. There's just, like, such a different generation.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so it's helpful, like, for her. She was super helpful for me to work with adolescents because I'm like, you're giving me so much information about, like, what your age is like and sort of how I can work with people at that age with some of those things. But
did you have Dr. Carol Brees at St. Thomas at all? Or did you?
I don't think so.
She might have just left to go to, her husband became upper administration at St. Norbert's and left.
Okay.
But I had her my junior year, and the class was interpersonal communications.
Yeah.
In the book, we read one book the entire semester and just dove into it, and it was, I can't remember the title, which is terrible.
You should
But
find it, though.
it's-
I'll for sure want to read it.
Yeah.
Just
it's
describe
based-
it and have Jack Burke look it up.
Exactly. It's based on empathy
Oh, yeah.
and the loss of empathy in this generation behind us because of our parents. How their parents are interacting with technology. So from the very youngest age, when they are in their infancy, they are holding their kids. This is the theory. They're holding their kids and looking at their phones while, like, they're trying to get the child to sleep.
Yep.
And the kid is looking up at their parent and not making eye contact. So they the child is losing out on the ability to, like, gain the basic foundation level of eye contact and feeling emotions through just looking.
Attachment.
Exactly. So because when parents are looking at their phones, and then when they're actually out moving, they're taking pictures of their kids, and they're not actually interacting and engaging. So there's no case studies on it yet to actually prove what it's going to be like. But the whole thing was like the fear of what it could be, because the 30-year-old, 40-year-olds that are having kids aren't sharing empathy with them at the ages between 0 and even 6.
Yeah. And that's, like, the most crucial time to form attachment. And that is, like, I love all of that. It's so funny because attachment is, like, the precursor for everything. So if you don't have a secure attachment with your primary caregiver, you're set up for a lot of difficulty throughout your development. That's not to say that you can't develop that later on, but it's, like, very crucial at early stages because acting out behaviorally, like, all of that stuff comes from not having a secure attachment. So it's crazy. And then to, like, piggyback off that, then when they're old enough to be, like, crawling and doing whatever, then now parents are just throwing them on iPads to pass the time. So, like, I often say to people, like, when I was growing up, my dad's side had, like, a huge family, and I hated going to family functions because I was always, like, forced to hang out with, like, my weird cousins. Sorry. That's really bad. I shouldn't be saying that.
I have 23 cousins as well, so I have very similar.
I have a lot of really cool cousins, but there was some that I was like, gosh, like, I just, like, would rather be not here. Like, this is for my dad, whatever. And so I had to, like, fight through that pain and, like, still communicate. That taught me something. So now as an adult, I'm good at communicating with people who are difficult to communicate. Like, I had to learn that skill. Now kids go to these functions. Like, my nephew is one of them. I see him, he's 6 years old, and he will cry if he doesn't have his iPad. Like, we'll go to a concert and he is on his iPad. So it's like, now my fear, which I don't know if this isn't like empirical data or anything, but I am afraid that there's going to be, like, issues with communication with those kids and social skills and, like, more social anxiety and just feeling inadequate in being able to be social with people. I think that's going to be a challenge because at such an early age, we're, like, allowing people to use, like, iPads as a crutch, and then they're not forced to have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, and you're touching on something that Jonathan Haidt talks a lot about, which is the people aren't being hardened or challenged enough anymore, and it's not because we're just softer as a generation. It's a lot of it has to do with technological improvements. So the more, just as technology advances, and we just pinpointed the smartphone and how that grew to an iPad and how that's just so accessible. You can buy that for $200 and not blink an eye, right? But there are multiple examples of easier routes for kids and different people to avoid and not have to be challenged. So the kid that has to go like to his cousin's house and hang out with his dweeby cousins,
Yeah, there you go.
not the chance, dude.
No.
I mean, it doesn't happen. We all have those situations. So what would you do with your kid right now?
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Well,
That
Harvey-
was the inner Minnesotan right there become oofed. I said it.
We'll cut that.
Yeah.
Harvey doesn't have an iPad.
Harvey, going
Yet.
on record.
Yeah, I do turn on Monsters Inc. or what's the pet one? There's like another.
Oh,
Of Pets.
Life of Pets.
I
Those
love
are
that
Harvey's 2
movie.
favorite movies, and I put them on every day when I leave. Ask my roommates; they like make fun of me about it all the time.
Every day.
I'm a cool mom. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I just like feel bad leaving him. But anyways, what I will do with my actual child, I think I'll wait to give a cell phone, and then I don't know. I think that I'm probably just gonna encourage like the way I was raised, which might make them like nerdy and losers compared to everyone who has a phone.
It's a good challenge for him.
Yeah. Like I want them to go play sports outside in the backyard instead of like I'll definitely have like TV time. I won't be too strict or whatever, but there's even a new diagnosis coming in the next DSM for
What's DSM?
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. The DSM is like the Bible for mental health disorders. So it's like
Oh.
if you get diagnosed with anxiety or depression or whatever, personality disorder, whatever it is, it's in this book that has like the diagnosis, the criteria. It goes through like you have to meet certain criteria to like meet a diagnosis. And you have to have a diagnosis for your insurance to cover your therapy. It's kind of confusing. Yeah. But there's going to be a new one. So they update it. So like with generations, new disorders are coming, just like kind of what you were talking about with the fears of these things coming. There's a new one that's like something about gaming and how gaming's become like problematic and maladaptive for a lot of people. And there's going to be like criteria that you fit this to be in this like gaming disorder. I haven't done a lot of research on it. We talked about it a little bit in class.
What does maladaptive mean?
Maladaptive? So like not helpful or conducive to living like a healthy and successful life. So it'd be like, for example, if there was like a couple and the husband gamed 40 hours a week and was like not getting sleep because of it. And so everything in the DSM or anything that's mental health. So like we all have anxiety. This is like a good shout out for everybody in the world. We all have anxiety. Everybody in the world has anxiety. But we have different levels or degrees to which we know how to deal with the anxiety. So when it would warrant being an anxiety disorder would be when you don't have the coping skills to deal with it, resulting in like avoidance or panic attacks or whatever, right? And so that would mean that your anxiety has become maladaptive for you. So you're not able to be successful in your day-to-day because it's like hindering your ability to just like go out throughout your day in a successful way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So with the coping, and that can go along with a lot of different disorders like depression and obviously anxiety, different ones. So are there coping mechanisms that you may not have but can learn to grow?
That's therapy.
That's therapy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like there's a whole stigma with therapy just in general. You think you're going in, and you are going in talking about your feelings and whatever, but mostly it's like, this is what I'm struggling with. The therapist helps you figure out what that's about, like why, and then gives you like actual tangible things that you can do to help that problem so that it doesn't continue to be problematic in your life. So it's basically like going to like a coach or a strength trainer or whatever. Like, I want to be stronger at this or better at this, and these are the tools to do it. So based on whatever you come in with, I would have specific tools for that.
What do you think of the new kind of wave of like a life coach where they are, you know, acting as that therapist, but definitely, I don't know if you're modernizing it or just making it more comfortable. What do you think about those?
I don't know. There's like pros and cons, because I think if someone wants to go to a life coach, like they're going to someone to talk about sort of how can I be more effective in my day to day.
in a sense, but there's also, there's also different tiers of life coaching, right? Because there's life coaches for CEOs and how to run and lead a company.
So those are super interesting. We actually learned about that, and I was like, that'd be something I'd actually like to do, to help people be more successful in like the business world or whatever. I'd have to learn a little bit more about business, but it's hard. Like the life coach thing, it's really tough because it's such an unknown. To me, it feels so unknown of like, what's the training of this person, or like, what have they studied and what are they doing? I don't really know a ton about.
Yeah. Well, I just found out about it through my mom, because like my mom's obviously, she's raised 5 kids now at this point, and shows every single person has just been different. And one of the things that like she's been super, stoked about are like, she finds like life coaches to hang out with my sisters, because like sometimes they're not there, and like instead of like hiring a nanny or something, like we have like a couple life coaches that they'll go rock climbing with, and like cool ass stuff, and that's a time for not just my sisters but different people to just kind of let loose and not feel like you're right there with your parents when you're at therapy, or I don't even know what the situation is, but it's just a different attack, I guess.
It's interesting you say that, because I kind of felt like that's what I was for my nanny girl.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't doing therapy, but I was like helping her be more effective in her life when she would open up to me about things. So I love that. So that's exactly what I like about it, is that like in order to go to a therapist and have insurance covered, it's expensive, but insurance covers a lot of it oftentimes, but you need to be open to the idea of like a diagnosis. Like now that's how it works. So if someone just wants some advice and some guidance that isn't necessarily like, I think a life coach is great. And I felt like I kind of was that for Katie, my nanny girl. So awesome. I love that. Yeah. I think amazing things for anybody that's trying to better themselves and they're trying to get that support in any way, whether that's going to a therapist or going to a life coach. I think that's amazing, and I think more people should do it.
Right on.
Dude, I love it.
Yeah, I'm going to see a life coach tomorrow for the first time.
Yay, that's awesome.
And then I think that's part of the reason why I brought that up. Your mom has been talking about it for a while? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
She just brought. She's like, have you ever heard of a life coach?
Yeah, she's doing a quick plug.
I know it's like,
it's
okay, have I heard of a life coach? These are like the people who automate their social media accounts and they follow me, and it's like life coach, business entrepreneur, and like all the cash signs. That was like my idea
Christian,
of
dog mom, wife.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just has all like the emojis stacked. And they have 10K, but you're like, I don't know if you have 10K. That was like what I was thinking of initially.
Gotcha.
But then like
there's
when
a stigma
my mom,
around everything.
there is though, and that, and that's just a reality at some point. But it's more about like having the conversations with these kinds of people, because you can look at their Instagram all you want, and that's one of the biggest issues, is you get maybe 5% of someone's life through looking at their pictures, right? And some people love it, some people are like, damn, that I wish that was me.
Well, and I think there's like differences too then. So for me, if you were coming to me tomorrow instead of a life coach, like I think there's different confidentiality things, I think there's different like boundary things, like I can't have a dual relationship with a client, so I can't be friends. Like you couldn't come see me because we're friends, or we have a relationship in another setting. And so I think there's different rules with that. Like I think it's a little more flex, which is nice. So if you're looking for something less, like there's a lot of like rules and things with therapy, then I think going to a life coach is great.
Sure.
So
that's the move.
It's the play.
Kind of a different type of question here, a little bit more on a serious note. I'm really curious on medication and therapy and just kind of how that whole process goes.
Sure.
From a scientific perspective, because I really have no idea.
Okay. So I am not allowed to prescribe medicine. And I'm not against medicine. I think medicine's super helpful. So if we were to just talk about anxiety again, for example, sometimes people have such significant and debilitating anxiety that to teach coping skills in therapy, I wouldn't be able to do it unless they were on a medication that would kind of, I would say like, here's a baseline, their anxiety's up here, like they need to be down at the baseline to learn the skills that will be helpful, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to prescribe. There's like 4 states, I think, that allow psychologists to prescribe. So like a psychiatrist would prescribe meds.
Okay.
But we often will suggest, like I'll send clients often to a psychiatrist and say, I think they might need to start an anxiety medication for therapy to be effective.
Okay.
So yeah, and I think it's the same thing with like a panic attack. So if someone's gonna have a panic attack in the moment when they're like freaking out and it's really high, their like emotions and it's like fight or flight. Like I'm just trying to survive. So they're not able at that time to learn anything. They have to be down to a baseline. So anxiety like often is kind of the route to go to make therapy a place where they can actually learn coping skills that they can apply to their life. But there's so many different medications. So like it depends on the disorder. Like for schizophrenia, there'd be a whole different medication, and I don't know as much about that because I don't work with them. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
But it's something that I think my opinion on it is that I think for people where it is so high, it's super helpful and important. And then a lot of times I'll have people, especially in college counseling, I would have kids who'd be like, I think I have ADHD. Like, can I like get prescribed Adderall, obviously. And it's like that, or like just the quick fix. Like I love when people are like, I want to start medication, but I also want to learn the coping skills. If people are coming in just for the medication, like my thought is that they want the quick fix, and it's not going to be helpful because at some point you still need those coping skills. Like the medication will be helpful to like bring you to a baseline, and then you still need to learn the skills and the tools that will help you be successful, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're finding, when you're with patients or clients that have like anxiety that's through the roof, or just some level where it's just through the roof, is it when you really like look inward on why, what's like the breakdown? Like if you were to split it up into like, I don't even want to do this, but like biological, like your social, emotional, like what are the biggest contributors to those levels being so high?
So it differs on the person, obviously, and I would know better if I had seen the person for a long time. Usually I know what's like triggering.
How long
it.
is a long time, by the way?
I don't know, because it's different on the person. So like some people open up quicker in therapy than others. So like the first session of therapy, I would do a full diagnostic assessment of like all of those things: social, emotional, education, like I gather as much data as I can about the person, and I like think a lot about how things connect to the presenting problem. And I sort of start to get like a narrative of who this person is in my mind. Then as you continue to talk with them, so usually I'll start like weekly or bi-weekly. And then I would say like 3 sessions I usually pretty much know.
And that's like hour long,
yeah. 50 minute hours.
And you're having just conversation.
Yeah. But so see, like some people, like I've literally had clients who are mandated who just sit there for an hour because you don't have to talk to me if you don't want to, but you have to be there. Yeah. So it just depends on the motivation of the client. There's like so many things that come into play.
Right.
It's like for you, you're not going to therapy again, but like if you were going to a therapist, the fact that you are choosing to go to me says that you're motivated to want to like work on something. That would be a lot different than someone who now is being forced to go because their wife is making them go, or their husband is making them go, or their mom or dad is making them go, which you get a lot with adolescents.
Oh.
So with adolescents, it's like the buy-in. Like, I know you don't want to be here. And I don't know, a lot of therapy, it seems like it's so like strict and whatever, and I play the like we're on the same level, like I'm not above you, we're on the same page, like kind of shooting the shit a little bit, like let's just like get to know one another. Therapy can be scary, so if you have any questions about me, like I'm happy to answer like anything that would be like appropriate to answer. Just building an actual relationship, and then people tend to open up quicker.
Okay.
So it just depends, but it's a lot of rapport building at first to kind of get the buy-in.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like, I mean, even in being in that position, if someone tells you like, hey man, you got to go to therapy, like, I don't know how, like.
Right. Well, and there's such a stigma still. Like, I think people are more open to going now because I think there's even been a shift of just mental health. it's Mental Health Month awareness, by the way. Woot woot.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Huge. We couldn't have
You didn't even
planned
plan that. I know.
Well,
I had to like
did.
re-Google it because I was like, I think it is. I think it's May. And then I Googled it before I came here. I told you. But yeah, I think that like there's becoming more of a shift to being open. And I saw that a lot with college students. And I think that's even just the trend, is that college counseling centers were not as busy as they ever were until now. Like it's happening. Kids are going a lot more openly, and kids who you wouldn't think would seek out therapeutic services are seeking out therapeutic services. So
Whoa.
it's pretty cool.
Why do you
Yeah,
think
that's
that is?
awesome to hear.
I don't know. Part of me thinks social media in a weird way. Like I think a lot of people are more open on social media about their struggles, like, which is great. Celebrities opening up about their struggles, I think, is huge. I think it's like mental health is something, and that's why I say the thing about anxiety is it's like with my clients, I'll be like, I have anxiety too. And they'll be like, oh. And I'm not like diagnosed with anxiety, but like we all do. Everybody has anxiety. And when you make it normalized like that, it's kind of like, oh, like, why did I think it was such a big deal that I was coming to a therapist?
Yeah.
Like
It's not just me.
I make it less about a diagnosis and just more about like, I rarely bring up the diagnosis again after. I mean, I will sometimes, but if it's helpful for the person to have like a name for it, which oftentimes it is. But a lot of times I'll just be like, okay, so like, let's kind of like keep working with just day to day what you're struggling with and not put a name to it.
No,
Yeah.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
The vulnerability, like the openness thing,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, just having conversation, like I just had that kind of realization. I was like, we're just talking with people
Right.
for 50 minutes, and
Right.
as much as we think this is like a learning experience and an
Mhm.
entertainment thing, it's very awesome for people to be able to come on like a podcast, or just be able to like just get off their chest whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pretty much running mini podcasts.
Kind of. I know, and I was telling him before, I have to record some of my sessions, like with client consent, but for school, we would have to do that. So it kind of was. It was kinda sweet. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, focusing back to your story, Alex, and questions that we ask every single guest.
Yes.
The first one is, what's your average quality? And this is something you do well at times and other times not so well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, what is your average quality?
Okay, so my average quality, I think, is bringing like cups out of my room. Like I'm kind of a cup hoarder, and I don't want to use that like word.
No, don't point at me.
But I thought about it and it like hit me today. I'm like, that is my average quality, because when I get bugged about it by my roommates, which if you're watching roommates, like they like I think all kind of behind my back knew that I was hoarding, and they wouldn't call me out for it, but they'd like subtly bring it up, like, okay, so like, where are all the cups? Like, where have all the cups been? And I'm like sweating. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they don't go into my room. I have like a ton on my TV stand and on my bookshelf and on my nightstand. And then one day, I brought all of them down during the day. Like, it was a day that I wasn't at work and everyone else was. I'm like, I'm safe to do it. Like, this is good. I put them in the sink, and there was like dishes going, and then left for class. And when I came back, like 2 days later, my roommate goes, Alex, we know that you're like the one with the cups. And we counted, and you had like 30 cups up there.
Oh my God.
30?
Plates and forks, like everything. I do everything. I eat, I drink, like everything.
Yeah.
So that's my average quality.
I
that's
love that
bananas.
response, because there are a lot of people like that,
Yes.
including people in this house.
That's not true at all.
We need to
dude.
bring awareness to the
Yes,
cup
we do.
hoarding, because it's
Cups, spoons.
spoons.
We have like 3 spoons in
Yeah.
our drawer right now.
Same.
Yeah.
We have no spoons.
We
I
had
don't know where they
14.
go. Well, they're probably in my room or my car. I bring them in my car.
No.
Yeah, and then I like have to do the walk of shame from my car
Yep.
to the kitchen.
With
It's
just
bad.
with just a lot of utensils. I have one cup in my room, and that's it.
There you go.
It's my accountability cup. All it is every morning and night, fill that thing up with water, drink it.
There you
And
go.
if I don't have it, I won't do it. So I have one cup dedicated to me
I like
once a
it.
week.
I like it.
I challenged him that at the start of this year. I walked up and was like, hey, Declan, new year, new you. Let's pick up after yourself.
Well, he didn't clean his room today, so
What do you mean? That room is clean, dude.
your room looks really nice, by the way.
Thank you.
There's like 2 things on the ground. If my bed was made, it would look a lot nicer.
It would. But who makes their bed? It's a waste of time.
I make my
Not
bed.
me.
Well,
Actually, my mom would tell me like wrong, so yeah, she tells me you should always make your bed, because it's the one thing that you can accomplish for sure every morning right away.
absolutely.
Declan.
That's why I do it.
Start making that bed, dude.
Every Sunday, I
Make
usually
your
do.
bed.
Every Sunday, I committed to cleaning my room,
Oh, that's good. I
and
know, that's
because
good.
before it was not clean,
Yeah.
and now
Well, wait,
I'm
wasn't
trying.
yesterday Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, but still,
It's
it's
not
not
clean.
So it didn't
bad.
last super long there.
No, it's just I
It's
didn't make
alright.
my bed this morning.
Yeah.
That's all. So now I gotta make my
A
bed
for
every-
effort.
Yeah. Get back on that train. Mhm.
Look, I'm trying, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, the spoon situation though. I mean, I don't even know how to handle that one because you go in and you open the drawer and it's like, oh, 2 spoons, great. Go over to the sink. It's like, oh, no spoons there. And it's going to the
Dishwasher.
dishwasher.
Still no spoons.
Still no spoons.
Yeah.
Where'd the spoons go?
Yeah, we need Sherlock Holmes here.
Yeah. The
Gotcha.
dog's eating them for sure.
The dog.
And that's how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
We've been talking a lot about anxiety, and I'm very excited to ask this next question
Mhm.
because we ask this also to every single guest is when pressure becomes stress and anxiety is rising, we have these little tools in our back pocket to overcome these type of situations or just to help ourselves handle the situations. So Alex, what's in your back pocket during these times?
Yeah, so this one I loved the most because I'm like, this is what I think I learned in going to grad school. Like my anxiety just kind of went down because I kind of just had all the tools all of a sudden and I know how to deal with it. I think
Not to
there's
brag.
no, no brag shit. That was really a flex. I didn't even realize it. 3 things I thought about.
You're a doctor.
So I think I first go to like gratitude because a lot of times when I'm anxious, it's usually me like kind of being down on myself about something or overthinking like I did something wrong again, blah, 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 whatever. And I think of like something I'm grateful for. Usually what I do, it's the thought challenging thing. So when my anxiety is super high, I do 2 things, I think. Is what I'm thinking about rational or irrational? If it's irrational, it doesn't matter because it's not realistic. And if it's rational, like I should be worried about this, then like what can I control in that? If it's something I can't control, throw it away. Again, like what's out of your control is out of your control. That's where faith comes in. And then at that point, when it is like down to that, it's either like it's usually a negative thought and I try to challenge it and think of like one positive part that I can pull out of it. So I'm usually trying to just flip from negative to positive in any way, whether that's like through gratitude or if I just have to go through that process.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I really do hope our listeners grab that because, I mean, you hear that all the time. You can handle stress with gratitude, but how? Like, how do you do that? Really? Would you just be like thankful for it? But there is that little just slight process. Start with irrational, rational. And if it's irrational, gone. Rational, then you go into the controllables. And then from there, if you can control it, that's when it's now the ball's in your court and you can really break down those tough thoughts.
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah,
Good work, dude.
got you.
That was phenomenal. I also think like the self-awareness part is like so key because that's kind of the fuel source of like, is this thought irrational or rational, right? Like what people that are caught up in it, I don't know if that's the first thing they think of,
Well, and what's interesting too is as I've like done this, I learn what my anxiety like tends to be about. So like that's what's helpful about therapy too is like there's usually we call them core beliefs. So like throughout your life you develop these core beliefs about yourself and then anxiety kind of trickles in from those things. And so when I am having that anxiety, if it's like a negative, if I'm like self-deprecating or thinking negatively about myself, if it's in the past, it's also again like that already happened and like I have to just remind myself of my positive qualities. So if I'm being negative on like an interaction or whatever, I'll think, well, that interaction happened, but 99% of my other interactions with that person were great. And so what can I do to control or make the future sort of better or whatever? So
relentlessly positive.
I'm a positive Patty, if you will. I try to be.
Episode title?
Episode title.
Positive Patty.
Our little positive Patty over here.
Oh gosh.
Oh.
Yep. I try to be.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think that's like one of my biggest things every day when I wake up. Because sometimes like when people wake up, they wake up with anxiety about the day, dread or whatever. Like if you're dreading something in the day, just do it right away. Because the more you dread it, the more you have time to be anxious about it. Another anxiety tip is to have an anxiety hour. So like if you start to think about things you're worrying throughout the day, say, okay, I'm going to jot down what I'm worrying about. And I have from like 4:30 to 5:30 to like worry about that and actually have tangible things to do about those things I'm worrying about. Because throughout the day, if you just let them like fester, you're just not able to be like productive.
Yeah.
And so jotting down what it is and then giving yourself like the time and the space to actually make a change about whatever you're anxious about is good. They have different like names for that. I call it the anxiety hour.
Yes, that's sick. I do that.
I have a little glass of wine with my anxiety hour.
That's sick, dude. My anxiety hour is the reminders tab on my phone.
Oh yeah.
So when my mind is racing, instead of texting Andrew, I'll just write it all on my reminders and
go.
put it like 4:30, 4:35, like
Perfect.
just a list of things. So when I come home and I forgot about it, it's like, oh, there's all my anxiety that I need to take care of.
But a lot of people when they get anxiety, they just like avoid. They shove.
Oh.
But like taking control over it, like the only control you can take over the anxiety is to like jot it down and actually do something about it or take the time to challenge or whatever.
Sure.
Awesome. Dang, dude,
that takes real challenge.
Yeah. I'm here all week. Dr. Coursol, hit me up if you want therapy.
Yes, you're challenging our guests, and I love it. And we want to challenge ourselves now. So we challenge ourselves by trying to tap into you a little bit further.
Yes.
And this is by guest suggestions.
Yes.
So who do you challenge for us to get on the show?
I talked to Declan about this today. I really think a good person that you guys should interview is Ryan Saunders. Do you know who Ryan Saunders is?
No.
He's my best friend's older brother. Okay. He just got named head coach of the Timberwolves today.
Oh, Flip Saunders'
Go
son.
Ryan. Yeah.
Okay.
He's so cool. I hope he listens to this because I'm really pumping him up.
Yeah.
We'll send it to him.
Really good dude. Very like resilient. Just has such a good outlook on life. And he is very successful and very humble. And I think he'd be awesome to get on the show. So I actually told his sister that today. I was FaceTiming her because she posted about it. I reposted. But I was like, wait. I was talking to Declan. I'm going on a podcast today, and I was talking to him about how you should ask your brother, like just today. And then they announced it. So I think it's like a sign.
Yes.
So get Ryan Saunders on the show.
Okay.
I'm excited. If you need a little like nudge, I can try to persuade him. But I think he'd be way more than open to coming on.
Very cool.
Dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that challenge. Challenge accepted.
Cool.
Challenge accepted. That one goes right to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Absolutely. God, we'll see him on in the summer if he's available. He's not going on any crazy vacations.
He's got a baby coming.
Oh.
But
shoot.
You'll get him on sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pre-baby.
How
far out?
How far
That's
in?
a good question.
Yeah.
I should know that.
What what's the question?
On the way.
What trimester? Is that
what trimester? I think third. She just had her baby shower, so usually that means
she answered that right away.
Yeah.
We asked how far along.
Yeah, I'm not like a pro, but I think that usually when they're posting about baby showers, we're pretty close to popping, right?
Oh.
Yep.
What is that like when all your friends get like married and have kids and stuff and like?
And you're not doing that.
Well, I'm not saying that as a shot at you. I'm just like I'm literally
my anxiety. I'm like challenge.
No, horrible way to ask the question. I'm just wondering.
I could
like,
totally see where he was going with it. I was just like, oh yeah.
Oh man, you could play that one a little better, dude.
Keep going.
Yeah. What's your question, dude?
What's the question, Declan?
What's that?
I wanted
like?
a fur. That's why I got a fur baby.
Okay.
A fur baby?
That's Harvey.
Harvey the dog.
Oh shit.
Not a Furby.
My mind's in the
No,
gutter.
that's where you think, and that's another thing for all the listeners. That's where everyone thinks we should be at a certain place, right?
Yeah.
In where we're at. Like I'm 27. I probably should be married and have a couple kids right now.
No
Hell
should.
no, dude.
Shoulds.
You should be here
It's
on the back
shoulds.
pocket.
It's the shoulds, right? That's like one of those anxiety, like cognitive distortion things. Is like I should be this, I should be that.
Yep.
So challenging those, like realistically for me, when I challenge that, it's like, oh, like you went to grad school, challenge, like you're just a little bit delayed or whatever you have to do. But exactly, there's things that happen, I think, for everybody along the development of like I should be here, I'm not there, and what. But yeah, right now it's just Harvey, and he kind of wants a brother, so
No, you're gonna double dog.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I heard Denver doesn't even accept pit bulls, so
Doubt it.
he's not a pit bull though.
Get like a corgi or some shit.
I mean,
I know.
Denver just allowed psilocybin. I think they'll allow pit
That's
bulls.
what I'm like. What the heck? Like you're gonna not let my dog be there, but your people are like doing shrooms.
Yeah. As a psychologist, are you excited about that?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little.
Oh, the shrooms?
Yeah.
No, sorry, I'm not excited about that.
Yo, we got you clickbaited.
Can't wait to quote
Psychologist,
that.
that's the caption. Psychologist talks, she's pro shrooms.
Yeah, she's so excited.
Psilocybin.
When the anxiety's high, shrooms.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
Well, no,
No.
they actually
X-nay.
use. I mean, they.
What were you excited about though?
What were you actually excited about?
I'm just excited, psychology speaking, to like go to Denver and have a
Oh.
different experience with a different population, in
Okay.
a different setting, with
Yes.
different, like, I think even we learn a lot geographically. Like, there's different diagnoses and presenting concerns, like geographically speaking. So, like,
100%.
here we see a lot of like the seasonal depression, whatever, because we have those fluctuating winters and summers, and 98% of Minnesotans are vitamin D deficient, just letting you know.
Wow.
So everyone should take vitamin D every day, even in the summer.
What foods have vitamin D?
You said you weren't going to ask me anything I didn't know the answer to. I don't know. I actually don't know that
Jack
one.
will be on it.
God.
Producer Jack.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Jack.
Jack.
Vitamin
Alright.
D.
Vitamin D. Vitamin Decky.
Is
I
there
don't
is there a,
know.
is
You
there
don't
a
need more on
brand you
me.
is there a brand you support
Oh.
of like a little 100
put
milligrams of your vitamin
No,
D?
it's vitamin D. I think it's like 1,000 U or like 3,000 U or something.
Come on,
Okay.
Doc. You
It's the
gotta have
white, or it's like a
It's a white bottle.
yellow. It's a yellow bottle.
Okay. Clear.
salmon.
I don't eat that.
Foods that have vitamin D: salmon.
What is it?
Grouper. Group. Canned tuna.
So
a lot
just
of
a
fish.
bunch of fish.
Oh, I love
Ah.
oysters. Let's go to Stella's tonight. Get some
Tell us, get that
oysters.
vitamin ducky.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Mushrooms.
Which
have
kind,
vitamin-
though?
Yeah, which kind? The healthy
Yeah, it
kind?
depends. Fortified foods. Are those ones that have like dungeons surrounding them, or what's going on with that?
Fortified. Oh, you're thinking
Fortified.
Like, it's got
I'm
a
like-
little moat.
It's
Orange
got a
juice.
moat around.
A dragon.
Orange juice is vitamin.
Sunny D.
Sunny D.
Great
D.
call on that
Way to
one.
go. And it's got vitamin C.
All right.
Two
so,
for one.
Wait, why is that though? Why are Minnesotans?
Okay, so
There's
this
no
isn't. Let me
vitamin
just
D.
tell you. I got to reframe that. So when I was at Gustavus, we worked with a psychiatrist who did like this study on his own, and he did a vitamin D test because you can like test your levels on 100 of his Minnesota patients in the winter, and 98 of them of the 100 were deficient. So he just generalized that. That's not really like
98% of all
stat.
people.
Yeah, it's not like a stat, but like it goes to show that 98 out of 100 Minnesotans that he saw were vitamin D deficient. And a lot of that is like even part of what I'm pumped about for Colorado is that it's always sunny.
300
even
days
the
of
cold.
sunshine.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it gets
yeah.
like gloomy AF here. And I even feel it. I'm like, I need to pop my vitamin D pills, you know?
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have a fun ass time in
Yeah.
Colorado.
Gotta learn how to ski, but
Do you not know
It's
how?
close. You're close.
I'm close.
You're moving out there. That's the step in the right direction.
That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
You gotta buy. You gotta make sure you buy your Epic Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
Oh, yeah, those are so expensive.
Yeah,
It'll
but
pay
if
for
you're-
itself.
It'll pay for itself if you want to go 5 times.
And
Not
that's
even
how it pays for it.
4
Yeah.
times.
Do
Pays
with
for
that.
itself after that.
All right, sold.
Mhm.
Dude. All right, man. Vitamin D. That's what
Vitamin D. Get into our final 2 questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The first question puts the ball in your court.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions for us?
Oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared for this one.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Actually, I don't know if I do.
Dude, you were just about to ask a
Well, I was
question.
going to ask you something about like mental health, of course.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
We're ready.
Ask away.
What do you think? What stigma exists in both of your minds about going to a therapist? Like, why would you not go to a therapist? What fears?
I think one that stood out to me the most was being a guy in their early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to like just keep moving forward and figure it out. Yeah.
That's my dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Masculinity. That's for another day, but we'll go there. Yeah. That's like super common for men too. That's a male cognitive distortion, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fitting right in.
Men
dude.
need help too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love it, but that's like super real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very real, and it's put on you in the weirdest ways too. Like you can't really like put your finger on it. Like, oh, this is why I feel that way. It's basically just you grew up in a world that's
Yes.
that's been the norm, and like
You
you're
should
just supposed to talk about putting in a box. That mindset is the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that's what
Right?
you've
And it's kinda,
ever
like,
known.
filtered. Yeah.
You should watch The Mask You Live In.
The mask you
Yes,
live in.
it's
Okay.
all about masculinity. Like my dissertation is all on masculinity. I'm like super into it because men are the least likely to seek therapeutic services, and men are actually like 4 out of 5 times more likely to like complete suicide than than women.
Whoa.
And so there's like this need, and we don't know why. And I think the big reason is because therapy and talking about your emotions is something that men are socialized from like the gender norms that you guys develop in society not to do. Like, be tough, don't talk about your feelings, like those things. Just deal with it on your own, be a man. So the documentary is like all about that. It's super cool.
That's awesome. I'm gonna 100% watch
You
that.
You should. It used to be on Netflix. It's not anymore.
Okay. And you know, like the amount of like thoughts I have in my head that I'm like, if I can just get those out and formulate that with another person that is really not involved with my day to day.
Yes.
And I just realize how much better I can be. And I'm not saying like I don't love myself right now. I'm like, I just like, oh my God, if I can like actually capitalize on this right now,
For sure.
The sky's the limit. And that's why I'm like starting to take these steps.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. It's good.
That's sick. I think going off kind of what you were saying is like not being able to admit that there's something wrong. Where it's like, for me, it would be, and it is more like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. I think everything's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I live my life at a 5 out of 10 at all times, no matter what. And so if something were to happen, or good or bad, you know, like it's hard for me to overreact and then compensate or take action right away.
For sure.
So I don't know if that's falls within your bill there. Or...
I think that's a big part of it. Like I thought even, so we had to go to therapy for school, or it was suggested because to go to therapy helps you be a better therapist.
Yeah.
So when I went, I'm like, Mom and Dad were both psychologists. I don't have any problems. I'm golden, right? Or like whatever I struggle with, after sort of hearing what people do struggle with, like I've now minimized what I struggle with because I hear so much more difficult, painful stories. But I think like the big part of that is that we all have like our own like degree of pain. And so like trauma or like pain or whatever, for me, might be a completely like, I might feel the same way about it. And it might seem like it's not as big of a deal as what I've heard, but I'm struggling in the same way as that person is, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's like minimizing or comparing and thinking that your problems like you should be able to deal with, or they're not that bad.
Yeah.
But it still is hard, you know, like difficult on a day-to-day to like kind of deal with them, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking to kind of more like you gotta instill more perspective. And man, I feel like that's gotta be, it depends, because you gotta look for that perspective if you want to give yourself that. Where I feel like if some people are feeling a certain way, they isolate themselves, like you said, and then they're rarely are they wanting to look out around the world to see if anybody else is feeling that same way.
And most people are. That's why I love group therapy, because it's like we're all struggling with this exact same thing. Didn't realize other people struggled with it the way that I do, but we all do, which is super cool.
Yeah. Dude, I should have asked this a long time ago, but where did you find the frickin' passion to just be who you are with everything you're doing right now?
Psychology?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Tell everybody, I don't think that I should even be able to get paid for this. I don't right now. By the way, I'm broke AF. But when I start getting paid for it, it like doesn't feel like it should be something, because I like seriously feel so passionate about helping people. That's just like was in my blood growing up. I think I always wanted to help people, and I think going to school has given me now the knowledge to be able to help people better. So it just sort of feels like my duty, kind of. And I enjoy it so much because there's fulfillment in knowing that you've helped someone feel better about themselves or be more effective in their lives. It's just like the coolest feeling in the world. So it's tough. But like there are days where I like leave work crying because it's hard to hear some of the things that I hear that people go through.
Right.
But,
I mean, like trying to hear that every single day.
Yeah. But you get used to it, and like you get tougher about it. Like I think when I was probably earlier in my development, I had that, and nowadays, like I think if I hear something brand new, but nowadays I kind of am just like, well, that is what it is. That's life, and the world can be kind of a sad and gross place or whatever. But what can I control? And it's like helping that person deal with the cards that they've been dealt and help them be more successful in their lives. And I've actually had multiple people like reach out to me or like reach out to my supervisors at the place that I was working at and say like, Alex was so helpful, and that like it means the world to me because I know that I made a difference, and that's kind of what I want to do in the world. So
reciprocal altruism at its finest.
Yes.
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 Dude, that was money.
Connect the dots.
Money.
Yeah.
Sick.
We had our guest on, was it 3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah, Caleb Van Diemen, season 3, episode 12.
Oh, wow.
Andrew's boss.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Speaks of reciprocal altruism quite often.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, we learned about it a couple weeks ago.
And that's what I learned that day. But
You
today,
guys learn a lot. You learn a lot here.
we try to. It's hard to retain everything, but we try to absorb it as much as we can, right?
A lot of what I learn nowadays is through having conversations with people, and you would not believe the amount of shit that gets put in my brain. But at the same time, like, this is my favorite thing to do every single day. I just love it. It's so much fun.
we get to learn a lot, and we like to hear what you learned today. So, Alex, what did you learn today?
Oh my gosh. What did I learn? You taught me something. That whole thing in the book you were talking about. That blew my mind.
Empathy.
And I want that book.
Okay. I'll figure out the name.
Because I really am super interested in attachment. That's like huge. I didn't know that it was, I knew that there was changes in attachment, but I didn't know it had anything to do with like the technology. So that you taught me that.
Sweet.
And I'm getting my side E.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Dude. Good work. You talked the doc something, man. Wow.
I'm the early rumblings. I'm going to be potentially filling your job at Altr, and
I hope so.
Yeah, and I might be teaching you some things.
Yeah.
I love it.
Sweet
Shit. So how long are you in Colorado for, real quick?
1 year.
1 year. Do you want to come back, or are you thinking you're just too much of the sunshine?
I really want to come back. I shook on it with my roommate. She took a picture, so I'm not allowed to not come back.
Don't restrict yourself.
Yeah, but I am. I'm open to. My life, grad school especially taught me this. And that's why I applied out of state. Like, I'm just kind of going day by day, not looking ahead, not looking behind. I'm just like, what's next? And it usually falls into place. So I trust that it will next year too, and I trust that I'll be at a place where I know confidently what the right decision is.
Well, I can't wait to talk to you again when I'm
actually Dr. Coursol. I'll be back for commencement in May.
Oh, what the hell? See, you still are a doctor to us.
And I will dab on stage.
Yes.
And if you don't believe me, I'll
need that photo.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna get a nice
picture. It didn't happen.
Yeah, you gonna boo me of that?
100%.
What do you think, Dad?
100%.
Absolutely.
Oh man.
Well, whenever we get you on the next time, which I'm so looking forward to, this was an amazing podcast. So
I'm so glad I got to come. Thank you.
Well, I've been hanging on the west coast of my heart, right where I'm meant to from the start. It's so much warmer than the secrets you've been holding in. And don't you look at me sideways with those eyes.